Happy Friday, friends, and welcome to the Mylio Photos coffee break. My name's Angela, and today we're going to be talking about different ways you can share and export your photos out of Mylio Photos. If you're new here, the way that these sessions work is these are short tutorials, about 20 minutes, followed up by time for questions. So if you have questions on what I'm talking about, please feel free to put those into the chat. I'll read them off, answer your questions, and you'll even have a chance to unmute and ask after the presentation. If there's something that is pertinent to what we're talking about, Lori Rubin, my co-host, is here today, and she's going to be adding links to the chat that are referencing what I'm talking about, and also making sure that I don't miss any of your questions. So before we dive into today's topic, I do want to let you know that we will be having our live Q&As next week, every Tuesday and Thursday as usual, and coffee break on Friday. These are all at 11:30 a.m. Pacific, 2:30 p.m. Eastern. Starting next week, I will be on vacation, but my wonderful team here at Mylio is going to be covering, so you guys will not be missing any events. Q&As will continue, and coffee breaks will continue. We're going to have a mix of JC Figueroa from our customer success team, Matthew Bonage. We're going to have Lori Rubin. She's going to be taking some sessions, and Rich Harrington, our head of product. So you guys are going to be in really good hands with some of the most knowledgeable people about Mylio, and I hope you guys enjoy the change of pace. Next Friday's coffee break will be about using external editors with Mylio Photos, and that one's going to be done by Rich Harrington, our head of product. So again, another wonderful teacher, and you guys are going to learn a lot from that session. So I hope you guys can attend and enjoy that. With that, let's go ahead and dive into today's session, which is Effortless Exporting, how to share your photos and videos with Mylio Photos. So the reason we talk about this is it's great to have everything organized in Mylio Photos. You get everything into the program, you get your albums made, your folders organized, you add metadata, but then what do you do with it? You want to be able to get that stuff out and be able to share it with your friends and family. Those gems that you find, you want to be able to send those in text messages to the people who are important to you. You want to throw them into emails. You might even want to create a web gallery that you can send a link to a broader amount of your family and share those and get those out there. So that's what we're going to talk about today, is how to get your stuff out of Mylio so other people can enjoy it. So what we're going to cover today is how to email stuff from Mylio, what using the email function does, some of the limitations and what it's meant for, texting directly from media, sending to social media. We'll talk a little bit about sending to family search. We'll also briefly cover doing things like ViewBug and Printique and Flickr and Frame.io. We're not going to dive in depth into those, but we'll cover the fact that they exist. And we'll talk a bit more about shared links and shareable links and shared albums. If you want to export to other platforms, we'll go over what you can do to make that happen as well. So let's go ahead and do an overview of the share menu and the settings. So when you get into Mylio Photos, there's a lot of different options in here. You've got presets for if you want to use some of the preset ones that we have in there. We give you a handful of settings that are good for a bunch of different scenarios. You can change the file type, you can change the dimensions, the quality, the color space, and you control exactly what metadata is shared. You can also add a watermark to your images. We're not going to go in depth on watermarks today, but I do want to show you that they exist. So let me jump back over here to Mylio, and let's say I want to grab this cute picture of my cat, just a quick snapshot on my iPhone, and let's say I want to send this to my husband. So I can go over here to the share menu, and for right now, I'm just going to choose export because I want to see all of our options. When you're here in the menu, if you're clicking on an item here that has these little sliders over here on the right, if you click on the name, it's going to give you what you last used. If you want to change your settings to something else, click on the little settings icon here on the right. But for now, I'm going to just choose export. And using export is what's going to send it to a folder on my hard drive. And right here at the top, you can see I have a bunch of different presets. So you can see I've got stuff here for printing. I can say a high quality JPEG. I can say I want to have this for social media, for presentations, for email. You can also save your own custom presets. So like I have one here for text to family. I have social media watermarked. I've got SlickPick. I use SlickPick for my online galleries, for my photography portfolio, for my camera club, when I want to send an image to ChatGPT. So I have different settings for different things that I've created. But the ones below this line, these come preset in Mylio Photos. So I can just say, let's say for social media, and what that does is it presets what's going to be happening here for my file type, my dimensions, my quality, and my color space, and also my metadata. So first off, let's take a look here at the file type. When you export a file, what it's doing is it's creating a new version of that image. So regardless of what file type your original image was, when you export, you're creating a new version of that. And with images, you have the option to export as a JPEG, a PNG, a TIFF, or a copy of your unmodified original. So depending on what you're wanting to do, this is what's going to influence the type of file that you choose. A JPEG is a good all-around file type for social media, for sharing on the web, things like that, sharing via email. PNGs, also very good for a lot of those similar purposes. They're a little higher quality. There's different reasons you might want to choose a PNG. TIFF is going to be your archival format. That's going to be the highest quality, completely lossless. This is good for if you're sending something to, say, a print lab, or maybe you're wanting to open it up in another application on your computer to do editing, things like that. TIFFs are excellent archival files. And then, of course, your unmodified original is not going to include any of the changes you've made in Mylio. It's going to be, like it says, completely unmodified. So you can choose. And like I said, this preset for social media automatically selects JPEG. You can also choose your dimensions. So you can put in a custom height. So if you know you want to use a specific size, you can go ahead and pop that in there in the numeric value for the pixels. Or you can choose one of these options. For email, especially if you have a provider that's really stingy with how big of an attachment they'll send, a smaller media might be where you want to go with that. If you're posting to social media, a large or maybe even extra large could be what you want to post. And if you're wanting to send something, again, to a print lab, or you're wanting to give somebody that full quality image, you're going to go ahead and say original. So again, you can choose which dimensions you send. You then have quality. And this is going to be the quality of those pixels. For most things, I would say if you're wanting to send, let me give a scenario here. If you're a professional photographer and you're wanting to send a proof to somebody, you want them to be able to see the image, but you don't want them to be able to print it. You don't want them to be able to do much with it. You're going to choose lower medium. You're going to give them that low quality file so they can see what the image is. It's going to look okay on the screen, but they're not going to be able to print it or do anything with it. High and maximum are going to be when you want somebody to have a really high quality image and potentially be able to print it. So in the case of printing, I always go with maximum. And for good display purposes, let's say you're putting it in your online portfolio or something like that, I would choose high. So those are just some examples of the quality. Color space, again, this is not something that you're probably going to have to deal too much with. For most people, you're going to want to choose sRGB. This is great for most web applications. So if you're sharing it via text, email, anything like that, sRGB is good. Also, most print labs are going to use sRGB as well. If you're working with more archival files or you have a specific color workflow, you might choose Adobe RGB or ProPhoto RGB. I know for most photographers, when we're working between Photoshop and other things, we're typically going to choose Adobe RGB. But it's really, for most people's use, sRGB is probably where you're going to hang out. Going down here, if you choose, you see here a great option called bit depth. That is a possibility if you choose a file type like TIFF. TIFF has also the option to choose 8-bit, 16-bit, or auto. And again, this goes to the quality of the overall image. If you're going the distance to share a TIFF file, I typically will say, if possible, share a 16-bit. That's going to give you the most flexibility with your editing and everything else. Safe share. This is an option where, especially if you're sharing to social media, it strips out all of the metadata. And this is important when you're wanting to put things online that maybe have where your kids like to play, your kids' names, and other personal information that you might have put into the metadata that you don't necessarily want to get out there in the big wide world. So you can go ahead and easily strip that out by toggling Safe Share. If you do want to include some metadata in your image, go ahead and turn that off. And then you can see here that metadata lights up. You can click on that and you can then select what metadata you want to include. For most of my images that I share, they're fine art photography. I typically will include my title and my caption. I probably will include my keywords. Ratings are just mine. Nobody else needs to see my ratings. I will include my copyright and my IPTC. I will typically strip out people and places. That's for my professional work. For stuff that I'm sharing with friends and family, like family moments, I captured this over the weekend and everybody was there and I got the group photo. I might also include the camera EXIF, and in that case, if I'm just sharing them via email directly to the people, I would include people and places. But if I'm posting this, again, like I said, online on social media in a public place, I would probably turn those off just to protect people's information. So it's very flexible. You can choose what information is included when you export an image. And then finally down here we have watermark, and this overlays a watermark over a portion of your image. And you can go in here and set it up to either be just text, or you can upload a PNG image to put, I use my signature, so you can have a signature or a brand or something like that overlaid over a portion of your image. It can be really good for just showing that this is your work. So it doesn't really protect you from anything. People can crop it out. AI tools are really good at removing them, so it really doesn't afford you a lot of protection, but it does show that it's yours. And for people who are reasonable and truthful and want to do the right thing, if they see your image and want to use it, they will try to get in touch with you. So it's one more thing about that. The other thing is if you're using this for, content creation, any kind of branding, putting your mark, whatever your logo is on there, that can be a really nice touch as well. So it's an option. Again, you can just use text or you can use an image, and watermarking is absolutely possible. So those are your options that you have inside of the export and share. Let me go ahead and take a look here at the chat and see if we have any questions that are relevant. Lori, is there anything that I need to answer before I move on? Excellent. Okay, cool. So let's go ahead and jump back over to the presentation and talk a little bit about sharing via email. So when you click on the share to email option inside of Mylio Photos, this has a couple, I'll call them limitations, but it's really focused on a specific application on your computer. So if you're on a computer, it's going to want to share on a Mac to Apple Mail and on Windows to Microsoft Outlook. If you don't use either of those programs to manage your email, then this option will not work for you. So if you want to use a webmail, you're using Gmail, you're using Proton Mail, you're using something else, and you're using that via your browser, via Chrome, Safari, any other browser that you're using, you're going to want to use the copy paste option. So let me go ahead and show that to you here really quick. I'm going to jump over here and I'm going to back out of this here, and you'll see that I have this email option. If I click that, that's going to open up the Apple Mail application on my computer because I'm on a Mac. If you're on Windows, clicking this is going to open up Outlook if you have it installed. If you are not using one of those programs, what you're going to want to do is just use the system clipboard. This is going to copy, or you can simply right click on your image and choose clipboard, copy, and then take that and paste it into whatever application you're using. You don't have to export another copy to your desktop and then upload it or create extra files. You can just copy and paste that into whatever other application you are using for your email if you're not using Outlook or Apple Mail. So if you're on a phone or tablet, this is even easier. All you have to do is click the share icon at the bottom of the screen, and it's going to pop up what we call the share sheet. And from there you can choose whatever application you are using for your email. You can click the mail, and that's going to take you to, on an iPhone, Apple Mail. On Android, again, you just choose whichever app you're using for your email, and it will automatically send it there. So it's very, very easy. Emailing is great for small groups of images. If you're sending a large group of images, you might want to use something else. You could set up that online gallery we're going to talk about later. You might want to export to another sharing service, like maybe a Dropbox or something, if you have a lot of images to share. Emails do tend to have the quality reduced. I know, like Apple Mail and Gmail, they will reduce the quality of what you're sending because they're trying to preserve their bandwidth and their amount of storage space that's being used. So keep that in mind as you're sending things via email. You might be losing some level of quality. And also, email is great for sending to an individual or to a group. All right, sharing with text message. This is going to work on Mac computers and, of course, your mobile devices, whether you're on iOS or Android. And what you can do is click on your iOS or Android device. Again, click that share menu, and you can go ahead and just send that directly to your Messages app. If you're using in iOS, you're using Apple Messages, click Messages. If you're using WhatsApp or something else like that, you can tap it and send it that way. So whatever messaging app you're using, you click the share icon and it just gives you the option to choose whatever text message app you want to use. On a Mac computer, you also have this option. Unfortunately, Windows doesn't give you this particular functionality, but you can go here and click share, and I can go ahead and say messages, and you can see I already have text to family as my preset here. I can change that by clicking on the sliders here on the right, but if I go ahead and click that, it's going to go ahead and pull up my messages app with my image ready to go, and all I need to do is type in my recipient, and that's going to get sent as a text message. So very, very easy to send things via message with Mylio Photos. All right, sharing on social media. This is something that, again, is much easier to do on your mobile devices. You can certainly do it on a computer. That copy and paste often works. It depends on the social media platform. I believe it works on Facebook. You just go into that field where you're entering your text and your content, and you just do your right-click paste or Command V to paste any image that you've copied from Mylio. Now, not all web browsers will accept that in the different fields. It depends on that platform. So you might need to actually do a full export to a temporary location and then upload that to that service. So it's a little bit more complicated on your computer. But on your phones, this is much simpler. So you can go ahead and just click that share icon there at the bottom, click share, and you choose your settings. And then again, you just pick the app for the social media platform you want to send this to. And this is great for sharing with a wider audience, friends, family, acquaintances, and you can share one or many photos at a time. Depending on the platform you're sharing to, most of these platforms will reduce quality. So you can go through the process of adding a nice high quality image here, but chances are the social media platform, because again, most of these we are using for free, so they are conserving their hard drive space and their bandwidth, and they will reduce the quality of your images. So some people do like to share things on social media for preservation, and I would suggest it's a great way to have memories pop up later on, but I wouldn't use that as any kind of archive because they do degrade the quality of your image. If you were to go to Facebook and download your past photos, you'll notice that those pictures are not as good a quality as your originals. So keep that in mind when you share. All right. So sharing on Family Search. This is another fun one. If you are working on a family history project, Mylio Photos has great tools set up to help you organize those historical details and then to take those images and share them on the Family Search website. If you're not familiar with Family Search, this is a service that is free and uses public records and can help you build your family tree. There's a ton of really cool stuff there, and I do recommend checking it out. So I have a free account there, and what I can do is in Mylio Photos, I can pull in my scanned pictures, I can add the correct dates, I can tag people, I can add titles and captions, and then if I have an image that's particularly special that I want to associate with someone that I have on Family Search, so typically this is going to be my parents, my ancestors, I can go ahead and send this directly from Mylio to Family Search. So let me give you an example of that here really quick. I'm going to go over to my folders view, and I'm going to go down to my family history here. And let's go into this one and go in here to my parents' wedding. So let's go here to this picture of my parents when they first got married. They look so young and happy. And I've got it in here, Mom and Dad's wedding. I've got the date. And if I turn on my face tagging, I've got my parents tagged. So this one is in pretty good shape to go ahead and share to Family Search. The way I do that is I go over here to the share and choose post, and I can send that directly to Family Search. Now I'm not logged in at the moment, so I'm not going to go through this entire process, but what it'll do is prompt you to log into your Family Search account. Once it does that, it will automatically upload the image. If you go to the Family Search website after the fact, what you're going to see is it's probably going to be pending for a few minutes because they do an actual physical review of every image that is uploaded. So they want to make sure that you're not sending spam, you're not sending AI generated nonsense, that this is actually pictures of real people. So you want to be very selective of what you send to Family Search, but give it a couple of moments and then it's going to pop up and you're going to see that it found the face tags that you uploaded. It's going to have your information for your titles and your captions and your dates. all of that's going to be in there, automatically sending it from Mylio Photos, which I think is really cool. And this is a great way, especially if you're doing a project with other family members, because for ancestors that are deceased, that information becomes public record. If people are living, those are private to you. So me uploading this picture of my parents would be private to me because my parents are still thankfully alive. But for pictures of my grandparents, great-grandparents, and so forth, if I upload those, anybody in my family can see those because those at that point become a public record, which I think is actually pretty cool. And then I can see things that other people in my family have uploaded, and it's a way to see things that you've never seen before and to share pictures of life that they might have never seen before. So I do encourage you to check out Family Search. It is a really cool process. Once something has been uploaded to Family Search, you'll have a little badge that shows in the grid that it has been uploaded. It'll be down here, I think in the bottom left. It'll be like a little tree, and you'll be able to see which ones you've uploaded because, like I said, Family Search is very particular on things being only shared once. It doesn't want it to be spammed, and you have to upload things one at a time because it wants you to be very purposeful about what you're uploading because, again, you're creating part of the long-term public record here. All right, some other options for sharing and posting. We have several integrations in Mylio Photos for Frame.io, Flickr, Viewbug, and Printique. So just a quick overview of what these are. Frame.io is a platform that's owned by Adobe, and it is great for photo and video collaboration. It's a tool mostly used by professional photographers and videographers, but we have this integration. All you have to do to find that is to go here to the share, go down to post, and there's the Frame.io version. So you can go ahead and upload a version to a Frame.io account if you have one. Flickr is probably the OG photo sharing website. It has been around for a very long time. If you are a Flickr user, you can both download things from Flickr, that's a completely different coffee break, and you can also upload new media to Flickr. So that again is over here in the post to menu. You can post images to Flickr. Viewbug is a competition site. So if you're looking for feedback on your images and you're wanting to compete, this platform has some really cool options for, you can win different prizes, you can get into different competitions, different challenges. If you're looking to get better at photography and you're looking for a community to surround that, Viewbug is a great one to check out. And again, you can send images directly from your Mylio library straight to Viewbug. We've talked a lot about Printique in these live sessions. Printique is a company owned by Adorama, which is one of the big camera stores in the US. And their print lab, Printique, is directly integrated with Mylio. So you can send pictures directly to them and create photo books. You can create wall art. You can create puzzles. You can create coasters, holiday ornaments. Gosh, you name it. You can create greeting cards, all sorts of stuff. So keep that in mind as we're heading towards the holidays. Printique allows you to send images directly from your Mylio Photos library, just all the way to their website, and then you can go to their website. Everything is there, and you can create some really, really cool stuff. So again, that's right over here under the post to. So if you click that share icon and you go down to post, it's right there under that option. Let's see here. What else do we have? Shareable links and shared albums. This is one that is super fun. So a lot of people ask me, what's the difference? Well, they're basically the same thing, but two doors to the same building. They both create semi-private online galleries for you to share with loved ones. It creates a URL that you can put into a text message. You can put it into an email, and then you can send that out to whoever you want. When I say it's semi-private, I mean that it's only available to whoever you share it with. So obviously you can't stop somebody else from sharing it someplace else. So you don't want to put anything that's like super, super private up there. But as long as it's not getting shared out there far and wide, like you put this link out on social media, it's going to go a long way. But if you just share it with a couple people in your family and they keep it to themselves, that stays pretty private. So that's why we call them semi-private. And shareable links let you create an album on the fly. Shared albums are when you go into the albums view in Mylio, you curate a collection and then you post it. So let's say I just wanted to do a quick share of some of these pictures of my parents' wedding. I'm going to go ahead and just select a handful here. And there we go. So let's grab those. And let's say I want to take just those selected images and create an on-the-fly shared album. So I'm going to go up here to my share menu. There we go. And I'm going to say get shareable link. What that's going to do is ask me to do all the same things as if I was creating a curated album. So quick album, quick wedding album, or just say quick wedding gallery. And I'm going to go ahead and say continue. Agree to the terms and conditions and the right to publish. Basically, this means that you are the owner of these pictures. You have a right to publish them. I do encourage you, if you haven't done it before, to go in and read these. And then go ahead and say continue. You can choose what you want your gallery to look like. And I'm going to do, let's do white. I think that works well for a wedding. You can choose whether you want to watermark these images. I didn't take these photos, so I'm going to say none. Safe share, I'm going to go ahead and keep that off. And on my metadata, these are scans, so I don't have any camera EXIF. I will include the title and the caption. I do want to include people and places. I will include library identifiers. I'm going to turn off copyright and IPTC because, again, I didn't create these images. These are scans that somebody else captured. So there we go. And then I can go ahead and click share. And it's going to go ahead and upload these images in their optimized format to a private web gallery. And I'm going to be able to see these pictures here in just a moment. Now, the difference between this and a shared album is that this is a quick thing. I can go ahead and just select a few images, create shareable link, and off we go. So let me go ahead and copy this. And I'm going to go ahead and open up my browser and we can take a look at this really quick. Oh, there it is right there. So this is my shared gallery. I can go ahead and say there's mom and dad's wedding. I've got my title and caption going the overlay here. I can click on the info. I can see who's in the picture. I can see the location and so forth. So this is just a really quick and nice way to share things. I can take this link, whether I copy it here in my URL bar or back here in Mylio, I can just click that copy and I can put that into a text message. I can put that into an email. I can put that into a WhatsApp message, whatever you're using to share things with friends and family. This is a great way to get those travel and vacation photos out, those family reunion photos out, and so forth. So that is how you create a shareable link. The difference between that and a shared album is that a shared album starts in the albums view. So if I go here into my albums view and I've created this album of falling leaves, I can go in here and publish this. Let me go to one that I haven't published. Let's go to this one. And you can see I have a link here to publish shared album. Now, when I click that, it's going to take me through those exact same steps that I just went to confirm the terms and conditions and the layout that I want that to be. And then again, I'm going to have the option to copy the link, click on that, and then I can see this album. And again, this is the dark one. And then I can go into these. You can see I've went ahead and did put my watermark on these and so forth. So you can see the difference here between your quick shares and your shared albums. Now, when you do that fast shareable link, when you click over here in the right, just select a handful of pictures and you use the shared album or the get shareable link, those will end up here under quick shares. So if I go ahead and click into here, these are ones that I've shared and there's quick wedding gallery right there. When you do this, if you want to make changes to it, you want to add more pictures, great. Put more pictures into this album, click republish. Or if you decide you no longer want to have that album up there, you can say stop sharing. Yes, stop sharing that album. And if I no longer even want to have this album present here, I can then right click on this and say delete album. This does not delete the pictures, it just deletes the album from the albums view. So everything in your albums is virtual. When you're working in photos, those are your physical images. So something interesting there to keep in mind. All right, so we did talk about this, the semi-private web gallery, great to share via email or text. When you use the shared albums, you are uploading optimized images. These are not your full quality images. These are the optimized versions that are about 5% the size of your originals. They are printable up to a 5x7. So if you do enable people to download them, they can still go and print these up to a 5x7. They're good quality images, but they're not the full resolution. There's also a limit to your online albums that you can share up to 1,000 images per link. So if your album has more than 1,000 images, you're going to need to create a separate album in order to publish everything. And you can share them anywhere you share a link. Finally, let's go ahead and talk a little bit about exporting to a folder. So this is when you need to create a separate copy outside of Mylio for uploading to a platform that you don't have one of those other automated ways to do it. The system clipboard and copy and paste is a great workaround for most things, but sometimes there are platforms that you actually have to create an export and then physically upload it because it won't let you copy and paste. So when you do that, again, we're going to go back here to Mylio, and I'm going to go into, let's grab this image here, and let's say I want to export this. I would go up here to my share and choose export here at the top. Once I go ahead and choose what I want, let's go ahead and say I want to print this. So I'm going to say printing high quality. That gives me a standard set of settings here. I'm going to go ahead and run with those. And I say export. It's going to ask me where I want to put this on my hard drive. Now, one thing I recommend, this is a personal tip from me to you, is on your desktop, create a folder called exports. When you do this, anything that you put in this is going to be a temporary file because you already have your copy in Mylio. That's where your original lives, and it's safe there. Anything you're exporting is going to be an additional copy that you don't need to keep after you do whatever it is you need to do. So for instance, I could export the scan 10 here and say save, use that, and then I can go ahead and just delete the contents of that folder. Those are just temporary files for a specific purpose for a temporary amount of time. So that's what I do. You can export to any folder on your computer that you like. So if you want to export it to a folder on Dropbox, you want to export it to a folder on iCloud, you can do all of those kinds of things. But that temporary folder on my desktop, I found to be a very handy little thing that I've done. So I just wanted to share that tip with you guys. So it's great for any platforms that don't let you copy and paste. Also, if you want to create an archive drive for a family member. So if you have a bunch of images that you've gone through, you've added face tags, you've corrected dates, you've done all this stuff. Now, you don't want to have a family account to share Mylio with them on that level, but you do want to go ahead and gather up a hierarchy of images and you want to send them a thumb drive with those things already organized. You can totally do that. So go over here into Mylio. I'm going to go to my folders view, and down here under my family history, and I'm going to go here into, let's say, actually, let's just go back up one level. Let's say I want to send everything in my Campbell family group here. I want to send that on a thumb drive to one of my family members. I can select that entire folder, and I can say right click and export. And it's going to ask me, do you want to export this many images? And I'm going to say yes. And it pulls up that same dialog with all of my options. So here I can go ahead and say, I want to send, let's see, JPEG maximum quality. And I can go ahead and say export. And actually, let me scroll down here. The thing that I wanted to show you here is folder options. Because I'm exporting a folder with subfolders, if you want to include that level of organization, under folder options, you're going to choose hierarchical. And this is going to let you export with that same hierarchy that you had before. So you can get a full copy on, let's say, a thumb drive or wherever you want to put it of those particular folders. If you choose the flat option, it's just going to be one big lump of everything that you selected. Hierarchical is going to give you that folder structure. So that's a really cool option right there. I'm not going to go ahead and do this right now because I don't need to export over 2,000 photos, but I wanted you guys to know that that option exists because it's very, very helpful. Just a reminder, we will have our live Q&As and coffee break next week. All will be 11:30 a.m. Pacific, 2:30 p.m. Eastern. Q&As are Tuesday, Thursday. Coffee break will be on Friday. I will be on vacation, but you will be in very good hands with other members of the Mylio team. Coffee break next week will be on external editing, and it'll be actually hosted by Rich Harrington, our head of product. I'm sure that'll be a very informative and educational seminar, so hopefully you guys can attend that. Frankly, if I wasn't going to be busy, I would probably jump in and listen in on that too, because I always learn something new from him. So I hope you guys enjoy having the change of pace over the next couple of weeks for our live events. They will continue on. You're just going to have a few new faces popping up, or faces that you might not have seen for a while. And I think that's it. Thank you, Nove. I appreciate that. All right. Let's see here. I think that's it for today. Thank you, Lori, for sharing all the links in the chat. That's always very helpful. And I will see you guys in a few weeks. Bye, everybody.